$30,000 was a lot of money to lose, but I wanted so bad to join that gold rush for mobile games, but I didn't make the cut. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mike. Thank you for tuning in. Today's story, I'm gonna continue from my last video. Some of you may have already seen my video where I talked about going from zero to a millionaire, and it took about 10 years. But if you paid attention, in the middle of that story, at one point, I had to pivot. Before I exited that industry, I tried really hard to get on that train of mobile games, but it just didn't happen well for me. Now, this is what happened. Again, this is way back. I was still in New York then, and I was doing well with my Flash gaming website. And so with the introduction of the iPhone, everything started to move mobile. So again, a lot of the gamers who would come to my websites to play Flash games, they now have a mobile device and they can go download a gaming app and so on and so forth. But on the business side, for those creators and production companies who were building mobile games, they were making so much money. The early adopters of apps on the iPhone made a lot of money, and my eyes just went wild, and I said, I need to get on this. Also, as a gaming webmaster, it just felt like the natural thing to do, to start building mobile games. And so I started piece by piece. We actually started a few projects where we made simple Flash games, and then we built a mobile version of those games through HTML5. Whenever you would go to your mobile phone, you can easily play that game. Obviously, we had to create a way where you can use touch screen to play them. Long story short, I then decided, you know what, there's money to be made in this, so I wanted to create an actual mobile game, like a real one, where you would have different levels and then create some cool monetization through it. And the name of the game was called Habeas Corpus. It's a think of law. So the idea behind the game was you were a detective and you went through different series to find clues to solve problems or crimes and so on and so forth. So we named it that, and in order for me to build this game, now I did work with programmers, but again, a lot of them were just known to build Flash games. No one really knew C+ and Java and all that good stuff that you would have to learn to build apps for the iOS. And so I went on this freelance website called elance.com. I don't think elance.com exists anymore, but back in the day, that was where you would go to hire somebody to build a game for you. Now, the reason I did this, well, because it cost an arm and a leg to find someone here in the United States to build it. The average that I remember being quoted for at the time was at least $100,000, and I didn't have $100,000 to just invest in a mobile game. So I went on elance.com, I searched, and then I found this developer that I thought, okay, this is perfect. Usually when you go through a freelance website, think of it as a social platform. And so I thought, what could I possibly lose? This developer seems good, has high ratings, good reviews, people are working with him, people have worked with him, and also I checked the budget. Typically when I look at to hire freelance like I did in this situation, I would look, okay, how much or how big has the project that they've worked on is or were. In this case, this guy seemed to have been working on bigger projects in the $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 range. So I said, okay, this person is the right person. Long story short, I decided to hire them, and I remember that the original budget for the game was around $18,000. So I said, okay, fine, let's do it. And we had, I believe it was six weeks or 8 weeks to get like the first real draft of the game. We made a deposit, got set up with a nice portal where we managed the projects, etc. And as the time went on, so the first things that happened that I should have probably seen as red flags were, so they did the design for the characters first. I basically wrote an entire game script with my team, and we had names for the characters, places, clues, everything you could possibly need. We wrote it, and then we gave it to these guys and said, okay, go build a game, go make this thing a reality. So the first step was they designed all of the different characters, and things were looking nice, where they would send us weekly updates of the characters, what they look like. They sent us weekly updates of the setting. We had a bunch of settings. There was a parking lot, there was an alley, there was a strip club, and so on and so forth. It was so nice in the beginning. Now it was time to combine the design into actual coding and coding it for it to function properly and for you to be able to play something. This is where I think the real red flag started coming on. Design was done. Once they started to send me demos of the actual game, something functional about the game, it just didn't look good. It was crappy, it was very glitchy, and then I remember they would use just different excuses as why this was happening. But eventually it got to a point also where things were not being, like deadlines were not being met, and there were excuses. And I remember at one point the guy told me, well, we lost XYZ from the team, or we lost this person from the team, so we had to rehire or find a way to do their job. This went on for about maybe 2.5 months, and I started to freak out a little bit because at this point, now given that you pay weekly, so at this point I've probably spent about 20 grand. And now I'm past the budget already, and we've spent 20 grand. We keep hoping, because I believed in this so much that I was willing to spend all this money. And I was like, okay, the means is going to justify the end, or the end is going to justify the means in this case, because I was looking forward to actually just launching something on the iOS platform and people loving it. I was reaching out to different publications to help write a story or article about the game, and it didn't happen. The game never came through. In the end, I just had to look at the big picture and realize that this guy that we hired was not going to deliver. And so I remember sending out a letter or email asking, so I think what happened in the end there was they promised to deliver so we had, I believe it was 3 or 4 different levels that was supposed to be delivered at a specific time and day, and they missed the first deadline. And they sent me some samples of just video, not the actual game, but like a pre-intro of the game. And I kept asking, okay, it's cool, we've been able to introduce the story of what's going to happen, show me the game, let me play what I paid for. And they never could submit an actual game. So in the end, I had to write Elance, let them know like, hey, I need to end my contract with XYZ and I need some refunds back. It didn't end well, because at that point I was way far in, and I was about $30,000 into the project, and we got some refund back, but not as much as I would have liked. And again, I walked away with $30,000 less in my pocket. Now, it was shortly after that I just decided, you know what, it's time to just pack my bags. This industry doesn't look like I'm going to make it here. And I realized that if I wanted to start over, I would have to spend even a lot more than that. Like I said, if you're going to hire a coder here in the United States, you're looking at $100,000 or more for you to build an actual mobile game. Also, when I think about that situation now, perhaps maybe I was trying to build a complex game. Maybe I should have just focused on something more simpler, something that people would actually enjoy and find a way to monetize it. But young Mike, just like Mike now, is very, very ambitious, and I always wanted to do at the top of the line. When I look at that situation now, obviously I would have done things differently, but then again, I don't know if I would have done things differently. I wanted to do a specific thing, and I thought that the ends would justify the means, but I was wrong. I was dead wrong. So what is the moral of this story? I've got a few. Number one is budget. Something I learned first from that project was, if you're doing anything in tech that has to do with coding, you probably want to have double the budget. And I mean double, meaning double your financial budget, but also double the timeline. Things usually never get done in the time that you set. So that's the first thing I learned. Second, Just because something looks great and everybody's rushing towards it doesn't mean that you have to get on that train. I learned that the hard way because during this time it was like a gold rush for mobile games, and I thought it was just the right thing to do. And also my eyes got really wide and I thought, man, I could make a lot of money doing this. And again, I risked $30,000. Did not happen. Just because everyone is doing it or trying to do it doesn't mean that it's for you. As a matter of fact, that should be a moment of pause for you. If a lot of people are rushing towards one direction, you should probably take a step back and really see what's going on before you jump in. So that's something I learned there. Now, the third lesson I learned is to focus my mission on problem solving rather than money. There's nothing wrong with focusing on making money with any business venture, but as I got older, I've always realized that when I focus on actually solving a problem, things usually turn out well than when I focus on just trying to make a bunch of money. The last lesson that I'll talk about is the fact that you can always get back up. And I think again of that situation, it's a lot of money. $30,000 at that age and where I was at was crushing for me. It really hurt to lose that kind of money. But as you've watched my full story from a previous video, you know that I did bounce back, and I see a lot of that even today where people try things and when they fail the first time, that usually crushes their dream. So point in case here, just because you failed or fell flat on your face does not mean that you cannot get back up. Remember, you are your biggest resource. I'm gonna repeat this in many of my videos. You are your biggest resource, and I'm telling you, it is impossible, truly impossible for you to find a successful entrepreneur that's not had their failures, multiple failures. Personally, I failed a lot at a lot of things, miserable in a lot of things, and I've lost even more than $30,000 over the years. But you gotta keep going. You gotta keep getting back up, and you build tough skin that way. So that's my spiel for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If this is your first time on the channel, you enjoy these stories, please subscribe to the channel, share it to somebody you feel can really watch it and get entertained or learn something. And make sure you hit the notification bell. Again, my name is Mike. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.